I would say every good day starts with a cup of Joe. And welcome to this pilot episode podcast of Off the Mic with Mike and Gasia, peeling back the curtain in broadcast news, the life, the everything. Honestly, right, Gasia, we have no idea what we're doing here, but we're starting small. We're going to get big, be honest, and just have a good time in this podcast. And as I look at both of us here, I can tell I did live television about 5 hours ago. You are in the middle of a shift and look fantastic and are doing live television this morning and in about an hour from now.
Yeah, I sort of picked up what you guys, caught last night for the 10 and 11 o'clock news. I'm sort of in a quiet corner of the newsroom here. That's what you see behind me. I'm right in between newscasts. So much of what we're working on today builds on what you guys did late into the night last night. Last night was a particularly rough one. I know I saw the news of the plane crash in DC when I was at home, kind of after dinner. It happened for you toward the end of one of your newscasts.
Well, you know what? This is a prime example. Like, not to get serious right off the bat, I wanted to talk about how you and I have been working 20 years together and all the positives. But yeah, you're right. Last night I was doing the 6 o'clock news. We got this urgent that pops on our computer from the Associated Press saying something's going on at Reagan National. So I walk off the set just a few minutes later. I talk to the executive producer and we start to get the information like, okay, this is serious. We have a mid-air collision. And for the next 3 hours, it's running and gunning in the newsroom. It's like, okay, how are we going to report this? How are we going to do this at 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock news? And that's the day is just boom, 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 right? And then you deliver the newscast, you come down, and it's really not until I got home, Gasia, when I was like, okay, that was very stressful. And then also, I didn't even take time to really realize that 67 people had just died, you know? So that affects all human beings. That affects us. We report on first responders and the daily things that they see and do. And it's just a prime example. I mean, not to go a big one, but like 9/11. That's another example of like, I didn't really decompress what happened on that particular story till I left the newsroom and I was sitting on my couch.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, for me, September 11th, going way back, even before you and I got to work together, September 11th, I remember like I was a morning anchor in San Diego. And so I remember that first
Mhm.
urgent coming in, and we thought, oh, like, wow, what mistake would have caused someone to fly, I assumed, a small aircraft into one of the towers. And, that story was developing under our feet. We were on all morning, late into the afternoon hours.
Super fluid.
It was, and to this day, I remember what it felt like. Last night when I was seeing the reports online of the plane crash in DC and watching your newscast, I remember thinking like I just wanted to know more. I wanted to know more. And I went to bed knowing that the story would really develop in the overnight hours. So what we
Yeah.
started presenting on Mornings on Two, we didn't have all the answers, but I will tell you kind of personally, it's very hard to go to bed knowing that you are going to have a full day of disaster and stress and tragedy.
So what are you thinking about?
You know what?
What
I'll
guests
be
are we going to
honest.
have?
I,
How are we
I
going to
was
open the
thinking, like,
show?
do we have aviation experts? Is what, my number one thought is, was there anybody from the Bay Area on the plane or on the helicopter, right? And then I'm thinking, what aviation experts can we pull in? What local ties might anybody have? I also did a lot of like pre-stressing, which I shouldn't do because it's not helpful. At a certain point, I had to tell myself, turn off the phone, go to bed. Your sleep is important.
Yeah.
But you know that like that search for answers, you want to know as much as you can. But when you're up against the clock, it's not a healthy thing for me just to be scrolling on my phone all
So
night.
let me guess. I didn't watch the morning show because, I go to bed at 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
And well, I did get up. I took the kids to school and then went back to bed. But did you have Mike Mikaelian on at 7 a.m.?
How did you know? So
How did you know? Because we
that's
had
right.
him on at night and we said, let's look out for our morning show peeps.
Yeah.
And we said, Mike, are you willing to do a come back in the morning? And he said, yeah. So that's how I knew, that's just team effort right there. That's us like, okay, we never see each other in the newsroom. By the way, in case you're watching, you didn't know that. We don't really cross paths, the evening crew and the morning crew. But that's that we were looking out for you. And I know you guys do the same, setting up the day and teeing it up for us as it'll move on. Because I'll be in there in just a few hours.
Yeah, no, and
Yeah.
it's so great, like so often, like you said, like that symbiotic relationship. I think so much about the several years that you and I were together on Mornings on Two, and you and I would be texting, oh, hey, this happened. Did you see that? Or hey, can we get that person you know of? Or do you know anybody who? And like there's so much that happens off the air that helps make what goes on the air as robust as it is. I'll be super
So
honest, I miss working with you. I think you do such a great job on nights, but I just remember how we had a lot of really, really good conversations and we were able to work very effectively on mornings. And I'm happy to see it taken to nights and we're still chugging away on mornings. But yeah,
now
it's
we're chugging away on a podcast and hopefully the pilot episode gets picked up, right?
Yeah, that would be fun. Any chance to talk with you, Mike? I will take it.
So I was thinking, we're talking about a big story, and it was the '89 quake.
Yeah.
We were both here, Loma Prieta. That's kind of the story that got me into broadcast news. I was like intrigued. I was like, wow, they're right there. They're in the marina. They're field anchoring. Like, this is kind of cool. Like, imagine telling stories and being right there at the scene. What was it? Was that it for you, or what got you into the business?
I'll be super honest. I bloomed way later than you. I remember Loma Prieta. I think I was in high school. But for me, it took, I would say, through community college before I really decided that I wanted to be a television journalist. I graduated
Why?
high school. Well, because so I graduated high school and I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I knew that like I didn't love math, I didn't love science, I didn't love social studies. So kind of all that was left was English, but I loved English and I
Yeah.
loved reading. I loved writing, and so much of what you and I and everyone here does is reading and writing, right? And I just
Hmm.
love, like, when I will tell you when I'm watching a newscast and someone has a line in a story that's just so elegant or eloquent, and I think to myself, oh, I wish I thought of that. Like, I'm still jealous of other people's really good writing. And so, I got to sort of follow that reading and writing, and I love reading the newspapers and back in the Herb Cain days of the Chronicle, and Dennis and Elaine and Dennis and Leslie here on Channel 2. And it just sort of helped me realize that I loved being the person to know the most and know it first, and then to be able to kind of retell it in a way that people can understand and digest and want to know more about. So honestly, it wasn't until I got like well into my first couple years of community college and then I transferred down to San Diego State that I was
Yeah.
like, I think I know what I want to do.
I'll tell you a story when I was in college. So I did College of Marin, then University of Colorado, and then I was an intern for NBC News during the John Benet Ramsey grand jury trial. And
In
so basically, I
Colorado.
was a runner, right? So 3 in the morning, I'd go pick up like Kelly O'Donnell at the hotel, bring her to the Today set,
Mhm.
and that conversation and that 10-minute drive, like I learned so much. And one of the key questions I asked her, I said, "Why don't you do local news? Why are you doing network?" She's like, "Well, I don't really want a family." She's like, "If you want a family, I don't suggest you do network news. Not that you can't, but that was her recommendation." And that line always kind of stuck out for me. And now I have a family, right? And now I'm still doing local news and I'm very grateful for that. But saying that, and my point of this little street we're going down is the broadcast news and the effect on your family, because it's there's highs and lows, I think, and my wife tries not to talk about it, but sometimes we bring it up. But and I've done every shift in the book, and I can't figure out which one's right and which one's wrong. But I think what viewers don't know is that it's hard to separate, and that it can have a big effect on us at home, and our families and our kids and so forth and so on.
No, I totally agree. I feel like every move that I've made in this newsroom, because I didn't have a family till I came to KTVU, everything I've done here is after long conversations at home, mostly with my husband, a little bit with my two sons. They're young teenagers now. I think I'm like half a step ahead of you. In fact, we have kids who are right about like within weeks of each other, the same age, right?
Freshman and a sixth grader.
Yeah, so I have freshman, sophomore. So your first and my second are within 2 weeks of each other, their birthdays. So I will tell you that there is no perfect shift, but I honestly think that mornings is as good as it can get. I
It
joke.
is better. I agree.
I
I'm
get
with you on that.
I get
I'm with.
up, I go to work, the boys go to school, and when we come home, we're together all afternoon and evening, barring sports and other activities. I'll say I'm not super pleasant past 7 o'clock at night, so I'm
Oh,
not
stop it. Yes, you
I'm not
are. I've
I'm
talked to
not
you
like
after seven
huge
at night.
homemaker. I can get kind of grouchy and who didn't empty the dishwasher? And I told you not to, blah blah blah. But I figure at least I'm there for the most part when they're home. But then that having been said, I remember when I moved to mornings about 10 years ago. I can't believe it now. I used to work like a midday and evening shift because
Yeah, I
I've
remember you did the noon and
yeah,
5.
I did the 5 and 7 for
Yeah.
almost 10
Oh,
years.
5 and 7. Sorry,
And so
not
I had
noon.
like the morning, kind of like you do now, of like, let's go to Costco, let's go to the library, let's go to a play date. Well, my boys were little. And so then I switched to mornings. I'm like, oh, this is great. I'm going to have all this time with my family at home all afternoon and evening. And then within like 2 weeks, my sons were like, we miss having you at home for breakfast. And I thought, I just can't win. I'm either not there for breakfast or not there
Yeah.
for dinner. Someone's got to work. And so, there is no perfect shift, but I think, for me, the needle tilts toward mornings.
And nights is lonely, I tell you, because I get up. Look at me. I'm by myself. I go to
Rough
work.
and
I come
quiet.
home. Everyone's sleeping. I'm
Yeah.
by myself. So there's a lot of isolation in
Yeah.
that part. And I don't mind being by myself, but Yeah, I do miss the family. I miss coaching and so forth. And then, so the follow-up question, Gasia, is why do you do it? Well, that's a good question because I think just growing up here and just you mentioned Dennis and Elaine and the history of KTVU. It's just something I don't know if you believe in just a calling and like you're being led down a path. Like I feel like I was being led down a path from the morning show to here, and it was something that I had to do, and I'm glad I did it. But again, there's ups and downs in any job you do in any aspect of life. So I'm happy we're doing it. I'm happy we're doing this right now and talking about it because I've been in therapy. I've told you that before, but this is kind of therapeutic, just seeing you and talking and ironing things out. So you said you're baking. Do you still bake?
Um, I have super high cholesterol right now, Mike.
Ooh,
I,
look at you
I-
being super honest with me. Thank you for telling me that.
well,
So what
so
did the doc say? You can't bake anymore? You can still bake. You just can't
so
eat
here's the
certain things.
deal. I told the doctor, I said, look, like she said, okay, your cholesterol is high, and it's been a little
So
high.
is mine too. Mine is
Oh, good.
too. That's why I eat berries.
I remember your raspberries, your salads.
I still eat
So
them.
I still like the greatest joy in my life is cooking for my family, right? And I've got two healthy, hungry teenage boys, and those boys can eat. And we can talk about like grocery bills later because it is incredible. But I told my doctor, I said, we don't eat a ton of packaged food. We hardly ever go out to eat at a restaurant, but I cook like, meatloaf, mashed potatoes, green beans, salad, for dinner, a chocolate cake on a Tuesday, right? Like not a birthday dinner, like a regular Wednesday or whatever.
Hmm.
So she looked at me and I love this doctor. And she goes, I need you to avoid animal products. And so and so to me, all those breakfasts, because like since I'm not home for
What'd you
breakfast,
say to her? How did you respond?
I said, okay, are you kidding?
Yeah.
And so I've been doing it for a few weeks and it's not fun. I make amazing breakfasts on the weekends just because I'm not home during the week. So, like, my sons know that a mommy breakfast is like French toast, berries, bacon, the whole nine. And so I just kind of look longingly at the bacon and I'll maybe have like half a piece of French toast and I'll have one egg. It's really, I miss all that super yummy food I used to make. So I'm still making it. I am just not eating it.
Important to stay healthy because in this business, it can, they say stress kills, right? I
Right.
mean, you
Right.
got to find those, I go to the gym. I'll probably go to the gym in 5 seconds here
Yeah.
after we wrap this up, but you got to find the areas of life where you can just
Yeah.
let it out because you
Yeah.
cannot keep this stuff in what
Yeah.
we do day in and day out.
Well, and my doctor also, because I used to, like, I've done exercise, I'd say moderate exercise on and off over the years, and my goal was always weight loss, right? But now that I'm coming up on 50, can you believe it? I
Me
was like,
too.
what? I want to be around, hopefully for my grandchildren. I want to be around, healthy, happy. Like I'm living, it's more than my vanity now, right? And so I think kind of my doctor's warning,
Sounds like you're retiring. Are you announcing your retirement on the pilot episode of
my
Off the
mortgage
Mic?
is this big, Mike. No, and here's the deal. Like you mentioned 20 years, which I can't believe you and I have been here. You have like 2 weeks seniority on me, but I still love what I do. And I still remember the first time I ever came here. It wasn't even an interview. It was like a, let me show you my resume tape. And you have to like get buzzed in through the gate and the guard has to let you in. And I have like a badge here. I'll show you. I have a badge now that I use to like swipe myself in. And
Let me
every
see it.
morning, I
I
think
can't see it.
it's me from a long time. I think I was a lot. I don't know that my
Oh,
cholesterol
I
really
have that too. I
in
have
this
one of those.
picture. Um, I think to myself, the gate opens for me. Like, isn't that funny? It's the
Really?
smallest thing. Yeah, I think, oh my gosh, the KTVU gate opens for
Oh my
me.
God. I do
So,
not think that.
oh, I do. I
I
do.
think I'm going to work.
Oh no, you know what? This is what I think. I'm feeding my family, doing creative, collaborative work. Like, oh my gosh. Yeah, no, I'm so
Wow.
happy. Yeah, no,
Okay.
hopefully I got, 10 plus more good years in me, and so do you.
You know what I want to do? I want to go right on that pier
Wanna
and
go on
then
that beach.
jump into Tahoe.
Okay.
That'll be relaxing.
I can see you doing that, but you have to be here later this afternoon.
That's why I have this on the wall. It's like I
As
just
your
all it's
reminder.
therapeutic for me.
You'll get
All
there one
right.
day.
That was fun. Good opening episode. You want to wrap it up, Gasia? So I
Yeah,
know you got to go do
let's.
the new.
I am in between newscasts. I have to run up to the set. So it's super good talking to you. I know we'll do this again. You're calling it off the mic, right?
Off the mic, MIC, like we were taking off our microphones. I wanted to start with music, and you said you couldn't hear it. So maybe if the pilot gets picked up, we can start the show with a little music because music is important in my life, and maybe we'll dive into that in episode 2.
Okay. I'll see you soon, Mike.
All right, see ya.